once I got to digging, I started to notice that hexagons were literally the shape for interdimensional travel, as you can see from this clip from the Spider-Man movie. As Miles Morales is going through the interdimensional portal, it is the shape of a hexagon. So that brings me back to these light pillars. There is a phenomenon where we can see these light pillars with our observable eye, as you can see from this image above. But what's fascinating to me is that these light pillars are formed because light is reflecting off ice crystals, forming the image of a light pillar. But if you look at these light crystals that the light is reflecting off of, it is in the shape of a hexagon. And that's how these light pillars are formed. You know how I always say they hide the truth in the media? Well, what's interesting to me is that in a science fiction series called Stargate, the term Antarctic outpost describes a hexagonal structure buried under the ice that served as the last remnant of an ancient civilization. And this is what it looked like. As you can see, it has the hexagon shapes. But what really ties everything in about this show is that it's literally called Stargate, which are portals that lead to other realms. Now keep this image in mind because it is going to come back up again later. So in Antarctica, they actually have these things called hexagonal open-top chambers. So I decided to dig deep and figure out what that even was. And basically, they are environmental manipulation. They create an artificial microclimate. They increase the air temperature within the hexagon, simulating future warming scenarios. So why make them in the shape of a hexagon? Well, because certain hexagonal materials, like hexagonal boron nitride, have a layered structure that allows for very high thermal conductivity within the hexagonal plane. This is ideal for spreading heat away from a source. That part is important. Honeycomb panels are used for heat shielding. So let's say, for example, that a firmament was placed upon our realm and its purpose was to spread heat away from the internal artificial environment. That would explain why we are surrounded by an ice wall. Perhaps this firmament is made up of this hexagonal structure, spreading the heat away from the ice wall barrier. And that would make sense if we look at the movie The Hunger Games, because when Katniss shot her bow at the dome, it revealed a hexagonal structure. So the firmament could be made out of this hexagonal structure. So basically, our realm would be an artificial microclimate. And this is a visual of what that would look like. And if you were to create hundreds of these artificial microclimates, it would resemble this, which looks very similar to the other realms beyond the ice wall. Each one of them their own artificial microclimate, meaning within each dome it could have its own weather, its own ecosystem, its own environment, terrain. Now when it comes to the waters above this hexagonal firmament, it wouldn't be composed of H2O as we know it. It would be composed of H3O2, which is structured water, hexagonal water. So the waters above are not ordinary water, but structured dimensional waters, the medium through which interdimensional travel occurs. So the waters above would be energetic waters, a kind of living plasma type of water. And that's why I said to remember this image, because this could be what our realm looks like from the outside of our hexagonal firmament. And if our firmament is made up of hexagons, that would explain how the light pillars or interdimensional travel is possible within this realm.